Today we're going to have our first lesson on what's behind the behavior according to the positive discipline approach. Please interrupt me at any moment of this lesson if you think it's necessary, if you have an example or a question from your group of students or students that you used to have, because this lesson is very practical. We are going to discuss cases, classroom situations, and look at very clear examples of behavior patterns according to the positive discipline approach. Okay? So, just a refresher for you. Last week we talked about the positive discipline stars. So, Alfred Adler and Rudolf Drakers, both psychiatrists, and Drakers was also a teacher, who started to develop what we call today the positive discipline approach. So, an approach focused on how relationships are built, strengthened, maintained, and destroyed as well if they are not taken care of. And nowadays we have Professors Jay Nelson and Linglot, who have been training teachers all over the globe on positive discipline and how to manage behavior inside the classrooms, including myself. So I was trained by one of them, and that's why I'm here with you today. So last week we talked about how Alfred Adler's theory. So when they were studying relationships, Alfred Adler registered and discovered that mutual respect and social support were the models of healthy relationships. So, in order to have a healthy bond and a healthy relationship, first of all, those people involved in their relationship would have um, to have mutual respect and support each other socially on tasks, on responsibilities. And Dr. Rudolf Drakers progressed these studies to the point that significance and belonging are also models of healthy relationships. So, in order to have a good and pleasant and kind behavior and gentle attitudes inside an environment, here we are talking about schools, but of course, their work was much broader than only in schools. And first, that person needs a strong sense of significance and belonging. So I belong to this place. I make a difference. I have a meaning here. That's why I'm here. I'm socially supported. I am respected. Therefore, I'll behave and I'll do my best and I'll live respectfully and with the other people around me. Okay. And a new this we talked about all of it last week, but a new concept that I'm going to introduce to you today, and it's a new and big concept, is the concept of mistaken goals. Okay, so Dr. Rudolf Drakers had that quote that we discussed last week, that a misbehaved child is a discouraged child. Okay, so another educator and scientist of our times now, Dr. Betty Laubetner, she made researches and she got to four C's that will represent the intrinsic motivators for good behavior, the intrinsic motivators for respectful behavior, for a productive attitude, and a solid development of social emotional learning throughout the lifespan of a person. Okay, and the first C's that she got into were connect, capable, count, and courage. And these work together to help us feel sense of significance and belonging, just like Dr. Rudolf Draker said on his works. So, according to the positive discipline approach, people will, through their attitudes and through their behavior, they will try to connect. They will try to find a source of courage on their relationships. They will try to feel like they count and to feel like they are capable. Okay, those are the four C's, the four targets behind the behavior.
Sorry, can I just ask what the count part is? It? Can you explain that a little more?
The C for count is that you count for that place. You make a difference there. You are seen. Your teacher sees that you were there. Your teacher sees your work and sees your interests and values what you do. We could say like valued as well, heard, or to have a voice. Okay, to feel that you count. So all behavior is driven by us finding these C's, and this is what we are gonna see in today's class. What drives the behavior and some patterns that we can look at. And it's not just about children; they also apply to our lives as adults as well. Of course, here we are talking about children and teenagers. This whole theory goes all the way from toddlers to teenagers. So, positive discipline is a broad understanding of human relationships. And now we are going to consider today that misbehavior is when a child is, this child has a mistaken belief, okay? So, an internal belief in their minds, but this internal belief is not an ideal one, so it's a mistaken one about how to achieve significance and belonging. This is how we understand misbehavior through the positive discipline approach. That when a child is misbehaving or when we see unhealthy relationship patterns, they are trying to achieve significance and belonging by ways that are not ideal, ways that are socially not acceptable, ways that will hurt others, that will hurt the community, and so on. This is a very important concept, how positive discipline sees misbehavior. Do you have any questions so far? No? No questions so far? All right. So, this is a really, really important concept when we work with positive discipline, that children and also adults will naturally try to achieve significance and belonging. This is natural. This is part of the human being. We want to be part of a community, we want to be part of a society, and we want to achieve significance and belonging. But those attempts can be featured through mistaken beliefs. Okay, and today we are going to look at those so called mistaken beliefs. We are going to call them mistaken goals behind the behavior of a child who is discouraged. A child that does not, a child or teen who does not see reasons to behave properly or reasons to seek belonging and importance by other means. Okay, it's important for us to understand that the unconscious intent, it's unconscious behind the child's behavior. The intent is to make the adult or the peers react. So, when we are talking about positive discipline and when we are looking at our students from this relationship lenses, okay, through those lenses, we need to understand that their intent is to have a reaction. either from you as the teacher or cause a reaction on their peers. Okay, it is a search for belongingness and importance. And when we talk about mistaken goals, they are gonna try in the most varied and different ways, which we're gonna see today. Do you recognize this scene? Iceberg ahead. So when we look at a misbehaved child in our classrooms, and now we are going into the classroom, I want you to picture your students. I want you to picture your group from today on. And I want you to see on the top of this iceberg that cute, funny face that is frequently misbehaving at your lessons, okay? So here at the top is what you see. For example, a grumpy student who is never willing to do any task and is always talking back to you. This is what you see underneath it. So the unconsciously we have all of those unanswered questions. Am I safe? Am I loved? Am I capable? Do I belong? Am I respected? Am I secure? Am I included? Am I understood? Do my thoughts matter? And deep down, do I matter? Okay. So, why do people do what they do? Rudolf Dreikurs, on his theory, he got to four mistaken goals. So, four patterns of behavior that will lead people to try to find significance and belonging, okay, especially children and teenagers. So, those four mistaken goals are the ones we're going to study this week and next week. And in order for us to go, into a detailed understanding of what they are, because this is a very important concept for you to understand what's going on your students' minds, we are going to take two this week and two the other week. All right? So, according to Rudolf Dreikurs' theory, we have assumed inadequacy, revenge, undue attention, and misguided power. Those are the four mistaken goals that will drive the behavior. Okay, the behavior will be driven by one of those four mistaken goals, or as we're gonna see in some advanced lessons, a mixed pattern of some of them, and to achieve significance and belongingness. Okay. So now it's time to crack the code. Whenever we see misbehavior in our classes, first thing we have to have in mind is that child has a goal. Okay, it's not a spoken goal, but there is a goal. Okay, as positive discipline educators, we must acknowledge that. Also, that adult or peers' reactions will generate responses from the child. So there will be an action, there will be a reaction, either from the adults, either from the peers, and that will generate another reaction on the child. Okay? There is an intrinsic belief behind each behavior we are going to see today. And only proactive and empowering responses from the outside can crack the behavior code. So when we see misbehavior in school, or when we see challenging attitudes, let's say hitting, for example, it's very easy to get trapped into a cycle that never ends. And what you are here for, and what we're going to see in today's lesson, is how to have those proactive and empowering responses, because they crack the behavior code and you're finally out of the cycle and heading to a solution. Okay? So, as I told you today, from the four mistaken goals, we're going to see two today and two next week, because we need to look at them with attention and details. It's a very important it's a very important concept here for your course, and it's essential that you understand it. Okay? First, for undue attention, we are going to start the cycle by the premise that the child has a goal. Okay? And the goal is, and it's an internal goal, it's not an spoken goal, keep others busy with me or get some special service. How the adult or peers usually feel: annoyed, irritated, because the child keeps asking for your help and attention all the time. Sometimes worried, oh, can't he really do that? Does he really need that much of help? Or guilty because most frequently we have 20 or 30 other students in a group and we can't give the amount of attention that child is requiring. So we feel guilty.
Bia,
Yes.
just a quick question. Would you say that the child's goal is a conscious or a subconscious thing?
It's a subconscious. We are always
Subconscious.
getting them all as subconscious as goals. Okay.
Okay.
And after that feeling annoyed and irritated, or maybe worried or guilty, how do we usually react? Maybe we remind and coax. Maybe we will do things for the student that he can do for himself. Okay, those are some patterns that are usually seen. I've been there, I've done it. I'm sure you've done it, and that's okay. We're not here to go judgmental over teaching practices, but to look back at our experiences or at our present experiences and try to crack the code. After this reaction, okay, how the child response usually is: the child stops the behavior temporarily, but later resume the same behavior or another disturbing behavior. And the big thought is, I stop when there's one-on-one attention, because the child's strong belief, that strong goal, that is a mistaken goal, but it's a very strong one, is for attention. Okay? What's the belief behind this behavior of attention, this strong need of attention? I count, I belong only when I'm being noticed or getting some special service. I'm only important while I can keep you busy with me. Okay, this is the what we would hear from our students' subconscious. Okay, and how does the adult feel in this cycle? I don't have faith in you to deal with disappointment. I feel guilty if you aren't happy, and that's why we get into the cycle all over again. Here we go again, and it's so stressful and it's so frustrated to be in this cycle. Okay, so I'm here to show you a different approach, because now you got it. Now you are here in this course and you are studying about social and emotional development to handle those situations in an empowering way from now on. So we are going from a cycle, we're going to break that cycle, and I'm going to show you the same situation as in a sequence, because we are heading to a solution. When we are in a cycle, it's problem driven. And when we are in a sequence, we are being result focused teachers. Okay, it's time to crack this behavior code. So, this is where we stopped it. Okay, we saw the whole cycle happening in our classrooms with that student, and then we stopped and asked ourselves, what is the coded message behind this attitude? This is a very important question before letting yourself into the cycle again. You just stop and think, what is the coded message? Okay, and the coded message, the key is to change the adult's contribution. Remember that we had that contribution on the cycle, that the adult feels frustrated and does not have faith that the child can um, deals with disappointment, and the teacher feels guilty because they are not happy. So when you change your attitude, remember that we talked about the mirror neurons back then, the first lesson. So when we change our attitude, we change the classroom atmosphere towards this problem. Okay? So you saw the coded message. You noticed, you remembered today's lesson, and the coded message for this undue attention mistaken goal is notice me, involve me usefully. Okay, and here is a list of some practical, proactive, and empowering responses. And they might include, for example, redirecting by involving a child in a useful task to gain useful attention, not a silly task that the child will feel like it's you're just killing some time because you don't know what else to do with that child, but something useful because remember that that child is looking for significance and belonging. And as teachers, we acknowledge, we understand how important it is to feel that you count, to feel that you belong. And this is a very important foundation for all the social and emotional learning skills that will come afterwards. Remember that we talked about Maslow before Blooming. You already know those things. And but this is a very important concept for us to involve the child in a useful task to gain useful attention. Another practical strategy that we can have is to plan some special time, but tell the child if you are in the middle of an art lesson and the child is really requiring attention, you can make an agreement like after class, I'm going to teach you a new painting technique, but I'll spend time with you later because now it's time for you to spend it's time for me to spend time with the whole group, with everyone. Okay, but you can plan your special time with the child if that's necessary. Avoid special services because they are gonna send you up into the cycle again. Say it only once, and the more you say it, the more you fuel the cycle. Okay, and have faith that in the child should deal with feelings. Don't fix or rescue maybe at the first day if you're coming from a pattern of several weeks providing that child with special service and special attention. The first day that you break this cycle, and you will feel that the child will experience mixed feelings. And it's not time for you to fix or rescue. Let them feel that frustration, let them feel those questions. And when they are calm, you can explain what's going on, that you are breaking a cycle. Again, you can plan special time, set up your routines, and engage the child in problem solving. So, okay, there's only one music teacher, 30 kids, and you really want me to be here with you. How can I solve this problem? I have the 29 others. How can you help me solve this situation here in our classroom? Okay, and so this would be one big iceberg called undue attention. Okay, there will be other icebergs for us to look at. I see a question on the chat. What would be an example of special services? I know, G, you work with very young learners, right? So I once had a boy that he always wore Velcro shoes to school, and he kept going after me and my teaching assistant with the Velcro shoes, saying that he didn't know how to put them on, and he knew how to put them on. So a special service would be both of us stopping the tasks, stopping our circle time, or um, stopping helping another child that really didn't know how to put shoes on to help him with something that he already knew. Okay, so that would be a special service to do something for him that he already knows how to do. Instead, we got him once putting the shoes on by himself in the playground, and we made a video. And then we made videos of all of the kids, and we showed to all of them. And we just had that big moment at circle time that we showed them all the videos and how all of them could put shoes on really beautifully and independently to break the special service, the shoe special service cycle, because otherwise he would keep taking off his shoes for us to put in him again, put them on again. A useful task. What would be a useful task? This boy, he really enjoyed organizing the classroom and organizing the line to go to lunch break or to go to the playground. So a useful task could be, okay, guys, after reading in the library, because they took off shoes to go to the library, you can put shoes on, and you, Felipe, you are going to be the line leader. So you are going to lead the line to the restaurant today. Okay? And that's a useful task, something he is motivated about, and something that is not focused on his unnecessary need of us put his shoes on. Did you understand, G, this example?
Yes.
Yes. Do you have any more questions? No? Okay. So this was the first mistaken goal we are looking at today. Undue attention. Remember, there are four. This is the first one. As you might have already noticed, the crucial C for this behavior pattern is connect. So, what the child is looking for is a way to connect with others or to connect with you. I brought here a case discussion, okay, just as we did last week. So, I'm going to give you 5 minutes to read. If you want to get a journal to jot down some ideas, this is a real case. I just changed her name. So I'll give you 5 minutes to read and then we can discuss it. All right? Okay, girls, are you ready to talk, to discuss the case? Yes. So Martina is a real girl. This is what was actually happening. And who would like to to share first? Again, we are sharing in light of this mistaken goal that we've just seen, okay? So you can share what have you noticed about Martina. Can you identify any patterns? Can you think of attitudes teacher could take? Remember, you were ready.
Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Giovanni, you're going to say something? So, no, no, no. You can go.
All right.
Actually, I have more questions than anything, I guess.
Okay.
Because by reading the description, the first thing that came to my mind was would she be afraid of growing up? I mean, she's not at peace that she's going to first grade. It's a completely new world. She would have to have more responsibilities and things like that. So my first impression was that, well, nobody told her she would have to grow up like all of a sudden. So she wasn't maybe prepared to enter first grade.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. And with the Rio Martina, that was indeed one of the issues on her. So facing the fact that she was now in primary school and she had new responsibilities, and that transition wasn't made appropriately. So she just woke up one day, got dressed on her uniform, and bam, and she was in first grade, so she didn't know anything about what she was expected to do and how things were going to be different in first grade. So that's one point, and that is something we must always look at when we see that kind of misbehavior is how ready this child was for this new situation, if the situation is new, and also has it been communicated uh, how the child is expected to act, how things work in this scenario, how things work in this new environment. Okay. Any other thoughts on Martina?
I'd say also maybe the change of teacher, because you have to get used to a whole new methodology and how what the class rules are and everything. Because I usually have that problem a lot. Because in preschool they have only one teacher who's been with them every year in all the subjects, and then when they come to me in the 5-year-old class, they it's like their first time seeing other teachers, so it's kind of like, whoa, what should I do here? And because they only see me like twice a week for 2 classes, then it takes longer for them to get used to, because every week they forget the rules, because they see me like two.
Talita, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Something went wrong.
Yeah, we couldn't hear the end. We could hear up to that they do not remember the rules at first because they only see you twice a week. After that, we
Yeah.
didn't hear anything.
Oh, okay. So I said that usually it takes me 2 to 3 months to set the rules because I have to constantly reinforce them.
Yeah. So Martina also has a new teacher, and what's interesting about this case is that Martina is looking for attention both through her peers and through the teachers. So she could be trying just to get the teacher's attention, but she was also trying to get a reaction from her peers by whistling because it was funny, by doodling instead of writing or doing her maths, and she would intentionally show her doodles to friends nearby and to intentionally show them that she wasn't doing what she was supposed to do. And so up to here, we are just in the cycle with Martina. How can we crack the code? How would you crack this behavior code? What kind of empowering and proactive attitudes would you take to break the cycle with Martina? Or what kind of things you've already done if you've ever had a Martina in your in your lessons.
So what I usually do is talk about the boundaries and expectations. So for example, I set up this new music room with like cushions and carpet, so it's really nice. So every day when I take them there, I line them up and I tell them, okay, so what are the rules for the music room? If you guys misbehave, we're gonna go back to the other room. So then they already know communicate to each other like what is expected. So then if someone misbehaves, the other ones can call each other out. You know.
Yeah, so you can even have some some kids that would be in charge of each of the agreements. So let's say you have five agreements to use that room. You could have five kids who would be the guardian of the agreements. For example, keep the cushions organized at the end, or taking shoes off before entering the room. You could have that sort of responsibility, shared among the children that would be also involving them in a useful task. Any more ideas on how to crack the code? Nope. All right. So now let's take a quick break, okay, ladies? 5 minutes for us to get some water, go to the toilet, and then we're going to discuss a second misguided behavior goal. Okay? Yes, if you have questions, you can ask before we go on a break.
All right. I have a case also. It's similar to Martina. It's just because I have the student that always says the contrary. I'm expecting. And so we have a routine with the toddlers. We have a circle time. We have a chart, a board to fulfill together. And he knows the answers. So what day is it today? And what's the weather today? And he knows it. But he would always say the contrary. So is it sunny today? Yes, it is sunny today. But what would he say? It's cloudy. He would say it's cloudy. So it's impressive that he is very intelligent, but still he wants to say the contrary to get this attention.
Okay. Is it only like when you're doing routines in circle? Or does he do the contrary on rules and on bigger rules and bigger agreements?
Yes, yeah. Sometimes it actually the first time it was just in the routine, and then it was infected. The other rules were infected by this behavior. So I am unexperienced. I just tell him, so you're very smart. But there are some friends of yours that might feel confused because you know the answer. That's why you're saying the contrary. But some of your friends don't know the answer. They will understand that you are saying the right. So you must help me. You must help your friends.
Yeah.
And
How old is he?
he's 5.
He's five. And what I once had a boy with kind of that behavior pattern. One of the things we did, and it's nice to do with this age, there is a fable. I don't know if you know it. It's The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Do you know this fable? I'm going to write on the chat. The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Okay. So we had a bigger on positive discipline. We do have individual interventions with children. So you can have a talk with him. You can clear up your expectations, saying that you know how smart he is. You know the vocabulary he knows. You can see that, but there is a moment for him to share the appropriate answers, and when that moment is not there, he should share the truth, the real answer. This is a talk for you to have with him individually, not to label him. And what I did in that group was to develop like a tiny project in 2 weeks or three about this fable, The Boy Who Cried Wolf, because it is a boy that says the opposite, does the opposite the whole time. And for this age, 4, 5, 6 years olds, fables are really nice because they show that there's a moral at the end. And it also helps the other children to identify when other kids are not telling the truth as well, and how not telling the truth can start with something silly and funny, like it's rainy, no, it's sunny, but it can end up as something really big and getting us into big trouble. So I would illustrate the consequences of that behavior through a fable, through this project, and expect, of course, improvement on his behavior in the long run. So in a month, in 2 months, in 3 months, and after that project. Okay, but if you are looking for a classroom project, that would be a very nice one for you to have with his group.
Thank you.
Okay, and the individual talks and the in the individual talks. Okay. Any more questions? Nope. So we're gonna take a break now, ladies. Now it's 18. Yeah, it's 19 actually. So we are going into 24, and I see you soon. Chegou bem na hora do intervalo. Deu tudo certo lá? Daqui meia hora.
Cebola crisp também.
Aí eles tiraram.
Tiraram cebola crisp também. Eu falei que era trigo.
Não é nada pro cerveja. O mais comum é.
Ah, eles entenderam, né?
Eles entenderam. I surrender.
Espero. Só mais 40 minutinhos, né?
Aham. Vocês querem? Estou fazendo as coisas. Então, a gente tem que marcar uma reunião para.
As pessoas acham que existem exceções, né? Não tem exceções, né?
Aí eu expliquei para a um relacionamento social rígido e eu não gosto de fazer. Mulher, as pessoas, o pessoal ficou em contato com a aluna o dia inteiro. A própria Miss Fletcher, a irmã dela testou positivo para Covid e ela está quarentenada e ela quer fazer uma reunião com a grávida. Achou legal. So at the beginning of today's class, when we look at the iceberg that Dr. Rudolf Dreikers developed for behavior patterns, he identified 4 mistaken goals. So 4 mistaken ways that people, kids and adults, use or resort to those strategies for belongingness and importance. All right. The first one was undue attention, which we saw the first part of this today's lesson. And here we have misguided power. Okay.
So we are not going to start talking about misguided power in that cycle way. We are going to start looking at it from the beginning of the misbehaving problem as in a line. Okay, so focusing on the solution because you got it. Okay, our focus is to find a coded message and to take a proactive and empowering attitude to provide this child with a proactive and empowering response because this is what positive discipline educators do. So let's look at the misguided power behavior pattern, okay? So the child's goal is to be the boss. And again, it's a subconscious goal, it's an unsaid goal, but it's there. How the adult feels. We might fight back, and we might give in and just let the power out for the child. We might think you can't get that way with it. You can't get away with it. I'll make you and wanting to be. Those are some reactions we can have, or we might as well have had already. And the reaction tendency is going to cause a response on the child, okay? Which usually is to intensify the behavior, to have a defiant compliance, to feel that he or she has won when the parent or teacher is upset, and to have the passive power. And by passive power, I mean they say they're going to stick to the agreement, but at the first chance, they don't. What's the belief behind this behavior? And this is where we start making a difference. This is where we stopped looking at them just as misbehaving children, and we look at them as brains and brains undergoing development. So brains that need water just like plants need water. They need our encouragement just like plants will need water. Okay? So what's inside there is I belong only when I'm the boss, in control, or proving no one can boss me. You can't ever make me do your things. Okay, what is the traditional adult's contribution? I am in control and you must do what I said. I believe that telling you what to do and lecturing or punishing you when you don't want to do it is the best way to motivate you to do better. This is the traditional response, and that by looking at it, just by looking at it, we can see that it's going to fuel the cycle. Okay? The coded message and the proactive response would be let me help, give me choices. So that child wants power. How can power be used in a good way? When you let them help, when you give them choices. Okay, some of our empowering attitudes can include first, withdraw from conflict and calm down, not take it personally. Be firm and be kind. Okay? You act, you don't talk. Okay? So, and if you were having you see that there is a power struggling coming on, show without words that you respect the child and that you won't go into into a power struggling there. Decide what you will do and stick to it. So have your power, your responsibility as a teacher, and do not make it any more flexible or full of excuses just because that child is trying to gain power so much. And you can also acknowledge that you can't make him or he or her do something. Okay, so I won't force you to do that. I won't make you do that, but I will explain why doing that is important for you. okay, and redirect it to positive power by asking for help, either you helping yourself or you helping me as a teacher. Some other attitudes might include offer a limited choice, like, okay, I see that you are not willing to start your writing task today. You can do your writing task at a calmer place if you want to. Do you want to go outside in the garden to do it there? Do you want to do it in the library? Or would you rather work on math, but now it's a quiet working time, so it must be on your seat? But give limited choices. Don't fight, don't give in. Again, it's not personal. Let the routines be the boss. So you see that there is this document, uh, uh, this role of classroom agreements that everyone follows, and as part of the group, that student should follow that as well. Not because you are telling, not because you are forcing, but because this is how the community works. And when I say community, I mean the classroom. A develop mutual respect and get help from child to set reasonable and few limits. It's always important to hear them, to listen to their contributions, their ideas, and put that into practice. And practice follow through. And so, helping that child identify his progression, his achievements, and also using power for a good reason. And the crucial C over here is to feel capable of seeing someone in power, seeing someone who is responsible, who is in charge of it, and being capable of respecting that, and also being capable of balancing my feelings um, to have power for myself. So when I have power, I use it in a balanced and respectful way. Okay, so that would be today's second behavior pattern or mistaken goal, which is misguided power. Any questions so far?
Yes, Bia.
Okay.
In your experience, because usually when those sorts of behaviors come up in the classroom, it's messy. I have to breathe and I have to control myself first. So, and I have the impression that the next teacher will perceive change or will get the benefits of everything I'll try to implement. Because we change teachers every semester, it's not a year where I work. So I have the impression that everything I try to implement will happen only with the next teacher. So in your experience, is that so, or is there anything I should try to do in order to experience the change myself within my limit, my semester or something?
Yeah, I understand how you feel. I've been teaching in language institutes as well, and it's a bit overwhelming when we are really building that social and emotional balance, and they move on to another teacher, and we do not see any of the results of the things that we planned. It's like we plant and we never see if it grew or not. And first, unfortunately, it's something we have to accept that most of the fruits of things we plant in our students won't be seen by our eyes. So we might see and we should expect to see improvement. We must see improvement in the current semester. We must see progression while they are with us. But we must also acknowledge the fact that there will be much more progress going on after that, because according to positive discipline, one of our main targets is to develop encouragement. And this big principle of encouragement that we discussed in the two previous lessons is to develop inner motivation to contribute and behave appropriately in a community, in society. So this is something that they are gonna carry on not only to the next semester, but it's something that we hope they carry on for a lifetime, to have this encouragement, this inner motivator of behaving well. Okay, but of course, you should expect improvement in. I am sorry, very loud car here. No, it's gone. We should expect improvement in the current semester. And this is where this strategy here really helps us, Lenora, practice follow through. So, with individual and respectful conversation with that student, and get some special time for the two of you to discuss his or her progression. So you can be very honest, because it will be just the two of you there. It's not something to be done with the whole group. And but that you've been seeing the progress, you can see evidence that in the beginning of the semester, and he would try to get the power and wouldn't respect any agreements or rules or deadlines. And now they are respecting the deadlines, or they are respecting the time to be back from a break, or any kind of misbehaving that would communicate this misguided power. And you see improvement, you can communicate, you can encourage. And it's very important that when that student leaves your group, Lenora, that he or she knows that they are capable of keeping develop or keep this development on their own. They are equipped to carry on their progression, even though they won't be seeing you that frequently. Did I answer your question?
Yes, Bia, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Gigi and Talita, any questions about misguided power? Nope.
No.
Okay. So now, girls, we are going to watch a TED Talk. And what I want you to do, you can get your phone or notebook, and you're going to split your page in the middle. Okay. And in one side, you will write, I used to think, and in the other, now I think. All right. And while you watch the TED Talk and thinking about everything we saw in today's lesson, you are going to add things to the I used to think column, or to the now I think column. Okay? And then you're gonna share.
I just want to say
Yes?
that every day I come here very sad